Now, in the ancient Aramaic, they understood that the way to force the non-being mind, we'll call this the non-being mind, out of its thought system, one of the ways to do that is through a parable. That it draws people out of their thought system and gives them an opportunity to see something they think they already know differently. It was actually a guy named Marcel Proust, I believe it was back in the 1800s. And he said, the journey does not consist of finding new landscapes. It consists of developing new eyes. 2,000 years ago, Yeshua said, you've got to have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. I think we can fairly safely assume most everybody in his audience had, as most people here do, have what we call physical eyes and ears. He wasn't talking about that. He was saying you've got to have the brain cells in order to see differently. You know, Einstein says you can't solve a problem at the level at which it's created. You can't solve a problem with the mind that created it. Or, more currently said, you can't do new math with an old math mind. Anybody ever come out of the old math system and have a kid come home from school and say, oh, let me help you with your math. Oh, this is simple grade 4 math. And you look at it and you go, I don't have a clue. Can't do new math with an old math mind. You can't fit the old paradigm of forgiveness, I let you or myself off the hook, into what Yeshua taught was forgiveness. And forgiveness is the tool for reaching inside yourself and removing what never belonged. So we're going to start out with a parable. And in Aramaic, that means parallel meaning. So I take something that everybody thinks they know and understand, and I lay beside it a parallel meaning. We're going to take this lesson and show it as a parable in something that we all kind of understand. And what that will help to do is to pull out of the mind that wants to keep generating the world the same way as it has always generated its world. And people can take teaching after teaching after teaching after teaching after teaching, and they think they're looking at the words on a page and a teaching, when in fact what they're looking at is pictures painted on the inside of their eyeballs, out of the content of their own minds, and they'll interpret through the content of their minds what they think are the words on the page, and they'll go nowhere. They'll just replicate what they've already done. This mind that we have, that is a reflection of the content of our energy field, we call the replicate mind. All it can do is replicate itself. Forgiveness interrupts that and changes the game. So the parable is where I'd like to start, and you and I all understand what an airplane propeller is. We know that it's a pivot point with 4 arms spinning around it. But let's imagine we bring a man from the jungles of South America, and this man has never seen anything more complex than a dugout canoe. You know, they chopped down a tree, they hauled it out and paddled away in their dugout canoe. Most complex thing he's seen. We bring him to the airport where the propeller is already spinning. And he looks at it. Does he see 4 arms spinning around a pivot point? No. He sees something that doesn't exist. His mind presents to him a shiny silver disc, something that is not there. But he insists it must be there because he can see it. Just because you can see something does not mean it's there. And the major key for recognizing that you're looking at something that isn't there is that you're feeling some form of hostility or fear. If you're feeling hostility or fear, you are generating a world that isn't there. But the world has resonated in you, that which you are building the world you see out of. And the world you see is an appearance. If you go back to Yeshua 2,000 years ago, he said, do not judge by appearances. Now, this man from the jungles of South America, who insists that this is a shiny silver disc, wants to judge according to that and do a behavior. He wants to know what the friction feels like on his fingertips. And we say, no, 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 don't go there. That's an appearance. It isn't the way you see it. The Course is basically saying, if you're in hostility or fear, nothing is the way you see it. You're looking at pictures in your mind. You're looking at a world. So could we properly say to this man, sir, you're looking at a world that only exists between your ears. The Course uses the word world in two distinctly different ways. We're going to distinguish where the Course doesn't, and we're going to invite you, every time you look at a page on the Course and the word world is used, you distinguish which world they're talking about. In this case, we've got the lowercase world. And then there's the uppercase world. This particular lesson is a great lesson because it uses the word world in both ways, and we'll be asking you to distinguish as we go through it which world the Course is talking about. The only place that the Course aims forgiveness at is the lowercase world. If you didn't know the distinction between the two worlds, then you've been trying to apply forgiveness out there. And you'll find it doesn't work very well. Because when you do that game of out there, you're actually engaging in a process of pardoning. But Michael, I forgave them. I will say to you, never forgive anybody ever again. Well, but Michael, I forgave myself. Then I would say to you, then please never forgive yourself ever again. Because you can't. You can pardon them, you can let them off the hook, you can let yourself off the hook, but that has nothing to do with forgiveness. If the world you see is based in some form of hostility or fear, then you apply forgiveness here in order to collapse that world and go to the root of that world and remove what never belonged.